The Shroud of Turin. That's the linen cloth believed to bear Jesus' imprint as he was being prepared for burial.
The Shroud of Turin is a burial cloth that's imprinted with what many believe is the actual image of Jesus after his crucifixion. Now, it's been debated for years, but the shroud is back in the headlines in a major way.
For centuries, the Shroud of Turin has captivated people around the world, surrounded by mystery, fascination, and heated debate. Many believe it to be the very burial cloth that wrapped Jesus Christ. Over the years, countless scientific studies, historical research, and theological discussions have tried to unlock its secrets. Now, in a groundbreaking discovery that has stirred excitement among scientists and religious scholars alike, researchers have revealed the most significant finding yet about the shroud, an extraordinary piece of evidence that strongly supports the resurrection of Jesus. This revelation not only challenges what was previously assumed, but also brings renewed hope and intrigue to believers and skeptics everywhere, marking a historic milestone in the search to understand one of Christianity's greatest mysteries. More than 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ, one of history's most well-known figures, was born. He began his ministry in Judea, boldly claiming to be the Son of God. Because of this, he was crucified, and according to Christian faith, he rose from the dead after spending 2 nights in the tomb. This event, the resurrection of Jesus, is central to Christianity. Among the most debated sacred relics is the Shroud of Turin, which many consider powerful evidence of that resurrection. Although dismissed by many scientists as a medieval forgery, mainly due to earlier carbon dating results, the shroud has been carefully studied for centuries. Despite ongoing skepticism, it often seems as though a divine influence has been guiding the story of the shroud, slowly revealing what could be the true imprint of one of Christianity's most sacred moments, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In what many see as one of the most important breakthroughs in the history of this relic, researchers recently discovered a name inscribed on the shroud, which they believe offers strong proof of its authenticity. But before exploring this exciting new finding, let's take a closer look at the shroud's fascinating and complex history. The Gospel of John mentions burial cloths found in Jesus' empty tomb, suggesting these cloths played a key role in John's belief in the resurrection. Many believe the Shroud of Turin could be the very cloth that wrapped Jesus' body at the moment of his resurrection. Because the shroud's authenticity has long been questioned, tracing its full history is challenging. The earliest documented mention dates back to 1389, describing a public display of the cloth in 1355 in Lirey, France, by a French knight named Geoffrey de Charny. Even then, controversy followed it closely. Bishop Pierre d'Arcis of Troyes wrote to the Pope, accusing the shroud of being a cleverly made painting, a deliberate forgery. Despite the doubts, the shroud eventually came into the possession of the House of Savoy, Italy's royal family, in 1453. They cared for it until 1986, when Umberto II of Savoy left it to Pope John Paul II and his successors upon his death. Starting in 1464, the shroud was kept in a special chapel in Chambéry, marking an important chapter in its journey. Hidden in the French Alps, the shroud suffered a major event on December 4, 1532, when a fire broke out and damaged the cloth. Some believe this fire might have affected the controversial results of the 1988 radiocarbon dating tests. Later, in 1578, the relic found a permanent home in the royal chapel of the Cathedral of San Giovanni Battista in Turin, Italy. From that point on, it became widely known as the Shroud of Turin. What makes the shroud truly remarkable is that it presents a full 3-dimensional image of a human figure. This burial cloth holds an incredibly detailed, life-sized image of a crucified man, something no other known artifact has ever captured. Many believe this image to be that of Jesus Christ himself. In today's world, where technology can accomplish seemingly endless feats, it's still a mystery how no one has been able to recreate the image or match the unique qualities found in the shroud. For over 115 years, the Shroud of Turin has stirred passionate debate and undergone intense scientific investigation. Yet a growing body of compelling evidence continues to point to its connection with Jesus Christ. You may recall the carbon dating test done in 1988 that aimed to disprove the shroud's authenticity. However, those results have since been widely discredited as they conflict with other scientific techniques, archaeological research, and physical clues. Now let's turn to recent discoveries made by Dr. Gilbert R. Lavoie, a dedicated researcher who has spent over 20 years combining medical analysis with scriptural study to explore this sacred relic. His most recent findings offer powerful new support for the shroud's authenticity. According to Dr. Lavoie, the image on the shroud doesn't show someone lying down as in a typical burial, but instead reveals a figure captured in an upright position, offering a profound glimpse into the exact moment of Jesus' resurrection. A detailed look at the front image on the shroud shows that the hair falls naturally to both sides of the face, just as it would under the influence of gravity. The same principle applies when examining the back image. The hair flows smoothly over the shoulders and down the back, perfectly aligning with the posture of someone who is upright. This detail is crucial because gravity plays a major role, not only in the way the hair behaves, but also in how the entire body appears when moving from a standing to a lying down position. This insight was backed by a series of experiments where an unclothed person lay flat on a glass surface. Artist-rendered illustrations from these tests clearly show the hair flowing backward, lying flat against the surface. Additionally, there's a noticeable flattening and compression of the back, buttocks, and lower legs, just what you would expect from a body in a traditional lying position. However, the image on the shroud doesn't match that expected supine burial pose, which many have long assumed to be the case. Instead, what we see is a physical form that closely resembles someone who is upright. The way the hair flows and the shape of the body strongly suggest an upright stance, not a horizontal one. Even more intriguing is the fact that the figure on the shroud doesn't appear to be standing on anything, or even touching the ground. Rather, he seems to be suspended in midair, floating. This curious detail leads to a powerful question. Why does he appear to be hovering? The most compelling explanation may lie in the Holy Scriptures. This stunning visual might very well be a divine witness to the miraculous moment of Jesus' resurrection. In addition, many discoveries linked to the shroud offer powerful support for its connection to the image of Jesus Christ. A striking example is the work of Dr. Joseph Kolbach, who found traces of dirt on the shroud that contained limestone. This particular type of limestone matches what's found in the tombs of Jerusalem. It's known as Jerusalem limestone. What makes this finding even more fascinating is that the sample from the shroud closely resembles limestone taken from near the Damascus Gate, a site not far from Golgotha. This suggests that the man depicted on the shroud likely walked through Jerusalem shortly before his crucifixion. The image on the shroud also appears to capture, in vivid detail, the suffering and injuries Jesus endured during his journey to the cross. Abrasions on both shoulders seem to reflect the burden of carrying something heavy and rough, likely a wooden cross. A bruise on one knee suggests he fell, picking up dirt as he hit the ground. Additional parts of the cloth show areas where soil and blood are mixed, hinting that his head may have struck the ground when he collapsed. Around the forehead and scalp, there are patterns resembling wounds made by thorns, as if a crown of thorns had been forcefully pressed onto his head. One especially notable detail is the wrist wound, which measures about 1 square centimeter in size. This is remarkably significant because in Rome, there is a church called the Holy Cross of Jerusalem. It holds relics said to have been discovered by Saint Helen, the mother of Emperor Constantine. Among those relics is a nail believed to have been used in crucifixions, and incredibly, it measures exactly 1 square centimeter. This astonishing match adds yet another layer of compelling evidence connecting the shroud to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The Shroud of Turin also shows a unique elliptical wound on the side about 2 inches wide, matching the typical size of a Roman spear. Even more fascinating is that the image reveals a separation between red blood and clear serum, a natural occurrence when a person has died and is then wounded. This separation results in both blood and a water-like fluid flowing from the wound, just as described in the Gospel of John. These precise details match only one historical account tied to a single person, Jesus Christ. One of the most moving aspects of the shroud is the presence of stains believed to be his blood. Many view these stains as powerful and sacred reminders of the ultimate sacrifice Jesus made for humanity. Altogether, these signs, wounds, blood patterns, and physical characteristics offer strong evidence that the shroud is not only authentic, but also a witness to the deep suffering endured by the man it represents. Adding to this powerful case is another remarkable discovery. The shroud contains traces of 49 different types of pollen. Out of the 49 types of pollen found on the shroud, 33 came from plants native only to Palestine, and 3 were specific to Jerusalem itself. This botanical evidence offers strong clues that the shroud likely originated sometime between March and April. It's even been suggested that one of these plants may have been used to weave the crown of thorns. Physicists John Jackson and Eric Jumper made an intriguing observation about some faint impressions seen over the eyes of the man on the shroud. They proposed that these markings might be ancient coins, possibly placed on the eyes, as was sometimes done in Jewish burial practices during the 1st century. What's particularly remarkable is that the size and style of these coins closely match those used during the time of Pontius Pilate, between 2 BC and 33 AD. Even the size of the shroud is telling. It measures almost exactly 2 by 8 cubits, an ancient unit of measurement. On one edge, there's a 3-inch wide strip that was sewn on using a very specific stitching technique, one that was known to be used only in Palestine during the 1st century. These small but powerful details further tie the shroud to that time and place. While crucifixion is often depicted with nails driven through the palms, archaeological evidence tells a different story. Research has shown that the nails were actually hammered through the wrists. This position gave the body more support and allowed the victim to push upward for air. The nail marks visible on the shroud match this discovery exactly, another piece of evidence confirming its authenticity. As if all of this weren't already astounding, there's a more recent and fascinating discovery from scientists in Palermo, Italy. They've found that the image on the shroud isn't completely still. It shows very slight shifts in position, like what you'd see in stroboscopic photography. These subtle changes appear to be caused by brief, powerful bursts of energy radiating from the body. This finding adds yet another incredible layer of mystery and wonder to the already captivating story of the Shroud of Turin. Research findings reveal that the figure shown on the shroud appears in slightly different positions, suggesting that the hands, feet, and chest show movements that align with natural breathing. This detail offers strong support for the idea that the Shroud of Turin actually captures the moment of Jesus' resurrection. However, one of the most remarkable revelations about the shroud has come from the International Center of Studies on the Shroud of Turin, based in Paris. Hidden within the fabric, researchers at this organization have uncovered astonishing evidence, inscriptions that are difficult to explain through normal means. Just beneath and along both sides of the chin, there are 3 distinct and evenly spaced lines where no image appears. To investigate further, the researchers broke the official photographs of the shroud into small squares, assigned each one a brightness level, and used a computer program to visually analyze the patterns. Through this process, letters slowly began to emerge, written in both Latin and Greek. These mysterious words make reference to Jesus, and on one side the word Nazarene is clearly visible. The leading theory is that this writing originally came from a separate document created by a scribe and placed over the face of the deceased. This was likely done to help family members identify the body correctly during burial. The type of ink used at the time may have allowed the writing to be absorbed by the linen and transferred onto the shroud. Notably, this inscription process didn't affect the method that created the image itself on the cloth. According to researchers, this discovery effectively rules out the possibility that the text came from medieval times. They argue that even back then, no Christian, and certainly no forger, would have mentioned Jesus without acknowledging his divine nature. To ignore that would have been dangerous, as it could lead to being branded a heretic. Enhanced images of the text have been shared with other experts, who agreed that the writing style matches the common scripts used in the Middle East during the 1st century, the very time of Jesus. This firmly confirms that the person shown on the shroud is indeed Jesus, the one who gave his life selflessly for our salvation. This leads us to an important question. How vital is the story of Jesus' resurrection to Christians? Simply put, without the resurrection, the core belief in God's redeeming grace through Jesus would collapse. By rising from the dead, Jesus clearly proved he is the Son of God and fulfilled his mission to bring atonement, redemption, reconciliation, and salvation to humanity. The resurrection wasn't just a metaphor, it was the actual physical rising of Jesus' body from death. All four Gospels describe how, early on a Sunday morning, a group of devoted women followers went to Jesus' tomb to prepare his body for burial. But to their shock, they found the huge stone blocking the tomb's entrance had been rolled away and the tomb was empty. According to the Synoptic Gospels, a radiant figure appeared and shared the incredible news of Jesus' resurrection with these women. In John's unique account, Mary Magdalene meets someone who at first looks like a gardener, but when he calls her by name, it becomes clear that it is Jesus himself. Although the Gospel stories vary in some details, they all agree that in the days following his resurrection, many disciples experienced direct encounters with Jesus and felt his presence with them. The resurrection stands as the climax of the Passion story in all four Gospels, forming the very heart of the message of redemption. It fills us with deep gratitude for the Messiah, the Son of the living God, who willingly gave his life as a ransom for many. Today, he reigns at the right hand of God, and one day, he will come back in glory to restore and heal this broken world.